That's all good.
It's a delicious steam bun that I made.
Oh yeah, we talked about that there last year, right, didn't we?
I've gotten a lot better at making them. So what's it look like? Do you hear both of us? Try it.
I'm trying to look. For some reason, I don't have it appearing on my Twitch. Let me just refresh the page.
Oh, let me make sure I actually went live. Yeah, I should be live right now. All right, can you try saying something? I can just test it out.
Hello. How
Hello.
are you today?
Hello. Stuff. Thanks. All right, can you try saying something? I can just.
Where is the link? Hello. Where is the link to this
today?
Twitch channel? Because it's not. I know I followed you, but it's not showing up.
It's working. It is in the Discord.
Which channel?
It's like
link to. Oh, there we go.
Yep. I'm gonna rework
links to Twitch channel.
I'm gonna rework the Discord so it'll be a bit more color coordinated.
Right.
All right, so we just have about 5 minutes before we start, and I'll just kind of tell you what I'm doing in Dark Souls real quick. So after last episode, which was on Friday with Tadius, I actually did quite a bit of leveling with this character. Not really because I'm trying to make the game easier, but I wanted to use this weapon that I have now, which is a halberd. Which says that it has thrusting attacks, but like it only has like one thrusting attack, and you have to use a shield to get that. So it's all slashing attacks.
Right.
But it has this cool heavy attack, which is actually in Bloodborne. They copy that attack for the axe that you use in Bloodborne. I'm not super happy with the quality, but oh well. Maybe if I close the Twitch, it'll help a little bit. I need to work on that, the quality as well, but yeah, you know, procrastination. Also, my internet. Sorry.
I was just gonna say my dog is very weirded out right now.
Oh yeah.
Because I had to like I'm staying in this rented house, and it's got an office that's about like I don't know 100 feet from the house itself, and my dog can see me in the office, and it's not used to being separated from me. So she's just like watching me through the window, like what's going on.
I don't know. You could probably have your dog in. Like, is she going to go nuts or something?
Well, it's just the thing is like she'll probably come in and then want to be let out, and then just because my wife and I are separated, she'll just run between the two of us.
Right.
And just consistently annoy me.
By separated, you mean that you're in different physical locations.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yes, that's what I mean.
Right. I just feel like
she's
is important to specify here because usually.
Yeah, that's a bit loaded terminology these days. Yeah, no, she's in the main house and I'm just in the office. She's in the west wing and I am in the east wing.
Oh, I see.
In the servants' quarters.
I see. Well, if you need anything, just get one of the children to wait on you. We're about 3 minutes out. So, the first thing I'm going to do, which, forgive me if I focus a little bit on it, is I'm going to fight a boss that's right over here. He's in the center. See that ring over there? He's like right in the middle of that. And it shouldn't be too rough. There are much harder bosses, but I might be a little distracted. You know, just at that one part. All the rest of this is going to be cake. You know. Just death at every opportunity. I did practice this area a bit, so hopefully, you know, that's... Uh-oh. Sometimes he does a fourth attack, rarely. But he did it, and I dodged it, because I'm a ninja. Conveniently. So, the strategy with this boss, which you will see, but we'll be talking by then, is I'm going to run right at him, and then start circling to the right of him, which is his shield side. And, you'll see that hopefully that will get him. He'll not be able to do anything because all of his swings when you're in close range are like slashing attacks, and they go really far away from you if you just get in really close and start circling to the right. So
Right.
that's his weakness. Yeah, so it ought to be just fantastic. And then I'm not going to come back here, but this area gets way harder once you beat the boss, because these knight guys, which are, I'm not going to fight any right now, but they're kind of challenging one at a time. But once you beat the boss, they all start wandering around, and they'll aggro to you, and they can see you from a long way away. So you can get like 2 of those guys fighting you, and then the big guys, like this guy over here. So that one there would aggro to me right now, and then I have to also fight this guy. I mean, usually what I try to do is try to just separate them. But we're almost to go, and then I will start. I will go fight the boss like right away, cause he's right there. I might as well kill this guy. Why not, you know? He was kind of peaceful, but that's what he gets. See how good I am at this game? Isn't it amazing? Look at this pro strategy right here. Someone was telling me about a guy who beat Dark Souls with 1, 2, and 3 without getting hit, and he just did it in one run, just streamed it live. Yeah, I can't do that. I am nowhere near that level of ability, but you know, some people are, I guess.
Well, I mean, this game was released like 2012, right?
2011.
2011. So it's like people have had 10 years to practice on them.
I also have had
figure it out.
Well, it's 10 o'clock, so it is 10 o'clock in California, where I live, and
Cool.
it is 6 o'clock, where my special guest star, Goodcop, lives, which is in England. That's the place that he lives now. Now he lives there, but not always.
Yeah, that's right.
Originally, he's from South Africa. What time is it in South Africa now? Do you care?
It's it would be 8 o'clock.
Oh, I see.
They're 2 hours.
So it is
they're 2 hours ahead of us.
It's on your mind. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir. Were you going to say something? Oh my God.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I've still got family and friends there, so that I talk to fairly often. So.
Nice. So you have to take that into account. Well, everybody, so just to preface this, at the end of the episode, so in about 45 or 50 minutes from now, I will be doing a portion where I will reach out to the audience. Let me get that chat window. Well, actually, I'll just get the chat window when I need it. So I'll be reaching out to the audience and seeing if you guys want to ask either of us a question, or if you'd like to introduce a topic for us to talk about for like the last 10 minutes, and I'll pick my favorite one. But for now, we're just going to dive into the things that we were going to talk about. Are you ready for that, Goodcop?
Yeah, totally ready.
Just, that's good. It would be bad if you weren't. So we will first talk about Goodcop's experience as an immigrant coming from South Africa to the UK. So please tell us about that. And while I just do this little boss fight, no big deal.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that I've had to practice. I've got like a practice speech that I've been asked over the years, because you speak to someone from England, and they're also interested in how you got over here. But so generally, what I say is that I was, I spoke to someone who was leaving a company that I was working at in Cape Town, and they said they were going to the UK, and I was curious as to why they were going, and he just said that there was the ability to travel, because obviously with South Africa you're about 10 hours from all these places that you hear about, like Venice and Switzerland and all these European countries and cultures. So that was quite appealing to me. So then I started looking at what it would take to go and live and work in the UK for a bit. And they've got quite a hectic rating system that they use, or at least they used at the time. So this is about 2008 or 2007 when I was looking at coming over, and they had like a 35-point rating system that you have to kind of pass or get points on, and the four main areas were your age, your education, your ability to speak English, and then how much you were earning at the time. And fortunately, I hit all the points.
So if you were too old, they wouldn't take you?
No, you get less points.
Oh wow.
But I guess in effect, so if you were like below 28, you get 10 points, and if you were, I think I can't remember, but it was somewhere in the 30s, then you only got 5 points, and then after that you got 0.
Nice. It's good to do a point system for the value of a human life. I'm glad. That's definitely something that you need, because economy, and are they going to be a productive, person in the UK?
And for how long?
And for how long?
Yeah.
So, like, initially, was it your idea to just kind of, like, move there and see what it was like, and maybe not live there, but just be there for a while?
Yeah, no, I didn't want to stay there. Like, my ideal was to go over there, travel, make some money, and also, given the situation in South Africa and some of our neighbors, I thought it would be good to get a citizenship, so that I could, so that when I came back to South Africa, I'd always have that in the back pocket in case I wanted to leave in a hurry.
Right.
And
because of things in South Africa, which we'll discuss later on in the episode.
Yeah.
So what sort of resources did you have to acquire to even? So did you took the test and all that before you even left, right?
Yeah. So you basically apply and give evidence as to why you deserve the amount of points that you say that you deserve. And at the time it was, I think just to apply it was about £350.
Oh, nice.
So,
it's good to put a startup cost on that too. You want to have people need to have a little bit of. They can't go into England broke. So they have to have that extra 350. It's like sending off a university application here. You have to pay money for it, and then they're not necessarily going to approve you. But that money's gone.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like, so there's other ways to get into the UK. So if you say that I'm going to invest £5 million into the UK economy, and create jobs, they'll give you citizenship within like 1 year or something ridiculous.
Also, I think by rowboat is another way that you could do it.
I don't know if you get the citizenship. You might just.
Well, I mean, you could get in there though. I mean, just take off. You have to get into France first. That'd probably be the easiest part to cross to get in.
Well, I had friends who did that because you could go over on a student visa I think the idea was that you go for 18 months, you work 9 months, and then you travel 9 months, and then you go home. Right. That was the idea, and people used to come over on a student visa for 9 months, and then work illegally until they left.
Right, because it's not like they're going to put out an APB. On this immigrant, hey, this visa has expired. We need to find this person and extradite them.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, this is, and you get this everywhere. I think you get this in the US as well. People will employ illegal immigrants, which is basically what they were, and they were working for a moving company for 2 or 3 years. before they decided like that it wasn't worth it and they just went home.
Well,
But the problem is that if you overstay your visa, then they're unlikely to give you another one.
yes, that makes sense. So, what
Yeah.
did you have to acquire personally? Like, how much was the plane ticket? What sort of like cost did you have to do to like? Did you have to find a job before you went, and like make housing accommodations, all that?
Oh, fortunately, like I had family over here already,
Oh, okay.
so I could bank on the house, like staying with them until I found a flat. And then and also my brother works in IT, as do I, but he was able to organize me a UK phone number that I could put on my resume. So when I sent it across to them, it appeared like a UK phone number. So then they were like eager to phone me. Whereas if there had been a South African number, they probably would have just left it.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that you. That seems like you had a few advantages. Like, and then having English as your first language, it is. It definitely sounds like it is. It is, right? Your
yeah,
first language.
yeah, it is.
I think that
Yeah,
would also be very beneficial. To
yeah,
not have yeah,
language barrier.
right.
Yeah, and I think a lot of I mean, there's been stacks of South Africans in the UK for ages. Like it's a running joke that in a area of London, Wimbledon, that's where all the Saffers live.
Oh, the
So
Saffers. Is that
yeah,
would that offend you if someone called you that?
no, no. I mean, there is a pejorative in sort of in South African slang that people would like to confuse it with, but that's not how I see it. It's just a abbreviation,
Yeah, there are
rather than saying South African the whole time.
there's like slang for other peoples of other nationalities that are like
Mm,
endearing slang, and then there are slurs. Um, there's
yeah,
definitely a
yeah.
difference. I've kind of gotten us off on a tangent. So you kind of had probably an easier time than some people would have of having a situation in the UK to go into.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
so actually, I'd like to go back to the requirements for the immigration because I was a little distracted when you were telling me those because I was fighting the boss and trying not to die. So I heard you mention the point system. What were some of the things on there? So age and speaking English, and then like what else was on there?
So if you depending on your education level, so they say that if you had a bachelor's, it was 10 points. If you had a master's, it was 15 points. If you had a PhD, then it was 20 points, something like that.
Oh,
And over the years, they've actually raised the bar, so you only get points if you had a master's, stuff like that.
oh, that's fair. You know,
Yeah.
because degrees are commonplace now because that's what the world requires from us.
Well, I think the problem is that there's if you look at the politics in the UK at the time, and this is kind of leads up to Brexit as well, is that they wanted to reduce immigration, and immigration outside of the EU is the only thing they could control. So by deliberately making it harder, then they reduced immigration.
Nice.
Mm.
Good job, England. How
Good to be a political football.
nice open arms there to the rest of the world. Uh,
Mm.
so what else was on there?
And then the final thing that you could get points for was if you if you were earning a certain amount, and they actually graduated it based on where you were coming from. So certain countries, if you earned between, let's say, $0 and $20,000, it was 20 points. But if you were coming from Australia, if you earned between $0 and $20,000, it would be 5 points, because the currency there'd be differences in the currency. Um, and presumably they're using that as a measure of your earning potential should you come over.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm against like a lot of this because it just. I mean, I understand from an economic standpoint, and you do want immigrants to your country to be productive to your economy, but it just
Yeah.
seems like you're placing value on people, and you're saying, well, if you don't earn much money, then you're not. We're just going to toss away your
Yeah.
resume.
Well, I mean, if you so there are other routes. So like if you're obviously if you're an asylum seeker, there's a route there. If you
Oh, do you get a
have
point? Do you get a point bonus if you're an asylum
no,
seeker?
so the point system only applied to the visa that I was getting.
Oh, so you get
I
to
think.
defer the point bonus if you're an asylum seeker. Um,
Yeah.
nice. Well, I'm glad that
No, that
they.
you like if you're running from a despot, then you get an extra 100 points or something. I don't know.
I
Maybe it
heard
works
that
like that.
I heard that recently with the situation in Hong Kong. Like I don't know if Britain still has this extended to them, but they were saying like, yeah, just come to England and we'll give you citizenship, which is
Yeah, I don't.
I appreciate that. Like that's good.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the people in the Hong Kong identify very strongly with like British, you know, democracy and free market and stuff like that, and they don't want to end up in a world that, I don't know, like I mean, like China's kind of showing their hand, um, with the people who are protesting there. So
Yeah,
that's
that's a whole like 30-minute discussion about
yeah,
Hong Kong. Um, but just kind of like to I'd like to know, what did you think about Britain when you got there? Because you said when we were talking that you had never been there before. What did it seem
yeah.
like to you? Like what'd you think?
Well, I mean, and it kind of extends to the whole visa situation, because what I didn't say was that you have to give the evidence that you have to give. It has to be done to the letter of the guidance for what they're asking for. So in order to prove what you were earning, you had to give them, I don't know, 12 months worth of bank statements showing the salary going in, and
Hmm.
they say specifically no photocopies. And I went to my bank, got photocopies, and sorry, not got photocopies, got bank statements, and I said, "Are these the only way, the bank statements that I can get?" And because you could see that it wasn't 100% like proof, like it didn't have the
With the
letterhead or the bank
watermark,
logo.
or
Yeah,
the
exactly.
special seal.
Yeah, something like that. And they said no, this is standard what we give out as as bank statement proof. And I said okay, fine. And I applied with that and got denied. And that was like £350 that I wasn't going to get back, even though I appealed it and whatever. And so I went back to my bank and said like, and they tried to give me the same thing again. I said like, this is the situation. Like it didn't work. I need to get like the proper letter-headed bank statement stuff. And then all of a sudden I got the correct stuff, and I submitted it, and then I was successful. But like that process was humbling for me. Like there was no special treatment. Like you didn't follow the rules. You didn't get what you were asking for, and that's kind of how I feel like Britain is. Like you have to do stuff as it's stated. Like you can't, and that's very different. It's a bit of a culture shock for coming from South Africa, where if you sometimes if you scream loud enough, you can just kind of intimidate people to uh to like bend to your will. And like
They take their protocol very seriously in the UK,
in the UK, yeah,
and they
yeah,
will
like that
not bend on it.
that'll get you. Yeah, they'll like shouting at someone in a government office will get you absolutely nowhere.
Um, the unwavering British spirit. Um,
Yeah,
that's what they mean by that. They're talking about They're talking about bureaucracy.
yeah,
Um,
and yeah. So it's and that's also what was my experience like coming to the UK. Is just that there's a different kind of culture when it comes to like dealing with you know uh, governments, departments, and just even if you're in a supermarket and stuff, it's kind of like it's, to a certain extent it feels sometimes it's like it's you could be in a supermarket and you ask somebody where something is, and if it's like if you're asking for something that's that's not in the department. They just say, oh, I don't know. You have to find someone else.
Well, I think
It's not
that's
my
just
department.
that is the apathy of the modern world there. Because that happens all the time here in the US. Well, in the US, like companies they make it so you have to pretend to treat the customers nicely.
Yeah.
So usually
Yeah.
depending on the person, usually you'll get like, "Oh, let me get someone else for you." Or when I worked at like Lowe's, which is a big box, it's like Home Depot. If you
Yeah.
don't know of it, I knew where everything was, but that's because I'm super smart. Um, just kidding, everybody who doesn't know me. So
Well,
that's
so but that's just different from my impression of South Africa. Like if you go into a department store and you say, "Where can I find men's clothes?" They'll like they'll lead you there, rather than say, "Well, I don't work in men's."
men's
Well,
clothes. Now,
as
now
a
it's
like
your
stupid
problem.
example, that's yeah.
Just
Yeah, right?
gesture at the store and say, "Have at it." Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
good luck. Yeah, that's frowned upon, by managers here. Um, well, that's interesting. How about like how the people live there? So like presumably people are more affluent in England than they are in South Africa.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think that if you talk, South Africa is kind of a dichotomy of like the first and third world,
Right.
and I would say definitely I lived in the sort of first world part of South Africa, and it's it was kind of it was different for me. Or my expectations were not met when you kind of see like where your friends are living in London, and you remember what the kind of flat that they had in Cape Town. It's like this is not the same. This is a step down, and it's living in a big city
Yeah.
where it's overcrowded and
Yep.
there's lots of competition, for space.
There is.
So you kind of
Also landlords tend to hate their tenants. Um, or actually, they don't hate them. They're indifferent to them, and but they want all of their money, or at least as
Yeah.
much as they can get. Um,
I was in a flat for 2 years in London, and we decided we found a better place and we're moving out. And while there's a period of you have to give notice, they come in and just see if anything needs to be done for the next round of tenants. And the landlord brought his wife, and she was walking around, and the
did she run
the
her
kitchen
finger along any surfaces to check for
yeah,
dust?
with a white glove.
With an expression of extreme disapproval, like
Well,
you people
well,
live
so
like pigs.
well,
Sorry.
well.
Go
That's
ahead.
I'm getting to it. So we had a problem with the bathroom and the humidity, and the paint kept peeling off the walls. And the landlord painted it once, but it had gotten just as bad as before around the time that we were leaving. And so the wife walks in and sees the bathroom, and we're standing right there. And she says, "I can't believe people live like this."
Yeah, that's I love talking, like making horrible comments about people as if they weren't there, right in front
Yeah,
of
and
them.
it's like you're the ones responsible for this. We've been
But
telling you about this for ages.
even if they weren't, like, just respect other people as human beings and don't like just call them trash in front of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it behind their
Yeah.
back. Like,
Like yeah, like honorable people.
yes, honorable people wait to insult people until they wait until they're gone.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly. When they're out of earshot.
I think that happens a lot here in the U.S. as well. I think probably most like large cities, you're getting landlords that behave like that. I mean, not to that extent. I would
Yeah.
say something just because I'm kind
Yeah.
of a prideful person. I would say something.
Yeah.
That probably
I wish
wouldn't be good.
Yeah, I wish I had. I guess I was in such shock that the audacity to say something like that when we were standing right there. But
Well, you've lost that
Whatever.
opportunity forever.
yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah.
anything else about Britain? Like, how about like the roads or like the school system or just the infrastructure that did impress you?
Well, I mean, the public transport is just ridiculous. Like compared to where I came from in South Africa, which is fairly non-existent
Oh, I see. So
at
it's
the time
better.
anyway.
It's better.
It's better in it's better in the UK by far. I mean, like the tube. I mean, at the time, I mean, it's gotten a little bit better now in South Africa. Like they actually have a subway in Johannesburg now, and I think they've in Cape Town they've got like a fairly decent bus system now. But when I lived there, none of that was. I don't know about the Gautrain, but I don't know when that went online. But if you had a car, if you didn't have a car, then you were kind of screwed.
Oh, that's the case
Um,
in the U.S. now. Unless
mm,
you're in like, there are quite a few major cities that have really good public transit. Like I lived in San Diego; it was beautiful. But like
mm,
where I live now in the Central Valley, it's a small city, and public transit is like, if I had a car, I could get there in 5 to 10 minutes. If I tried taking the bus, it'd be an hour,
mm.
maybe an hour and a
Yeah,
half.
but well, I mean, I think the thing is that yeah, I think I would guess a lot of small towns have that problem, but this is Cape Town. This is the second
Right.
largest city in South Africa that doesn't have decent public transport. I mean, like the trains were delayed, and it depends on if someone's busy burning down a carriage if they were going to be on time,
By carriage,
that
do you
kind of
mean
thing.
car or a train carriage?
Yeah,
Did that happen?
yeah,
Why?
fairly often.
Why?
Um, well, I mean, it's just it's so weird. I mean, it's kind of like the way people protest down there,
Oh yes.
and if so if
That'll
and it,
show him.
I mean, I think it comes from like historically, like if where they were the a portion of the I don't know, like the black population was kind of forced to kind of accept inferior education, so they by to show that they weren't going to accept it, they would like burn down the school, you
Well,
know,
I mean that's almost
and
almost well, okay, burning down the school is too much, but I mean
yeah,
I think that that's an incredible just injustice.
yeah,
Like that is not how things should be. And you're telling me they're getting better, but we can probably talk a little bit.
yeah. So the thing is that I think that kind of that notion is still there, and now it extends to public transport, and it's like, okay, this public transport isn't good enough, let's burn it down.
Yeah,
It's like, well,
that'll help
you're kind of
things.
shooting yourself in the foot
Yeah,
here,
it's not
you
the
know.
right way to go about it. But in
Yeah,
England, were you just impressed? You're impressed by the public transit. Probably the education system, I would imagine, is a lot better too. Um,
well, I only like my daughter's only 3 years old, so I haven't really experienced much. But I know my brother's kids are a bit older, and he says like coming, and he had a direct comparison with South Africa, because they came when they were about 7 or so, and he felt like their reading level like jumped in a year,
uh-oh.
um, from being like at the back, like last in the class to being first in the class. Um, and like so he could see a difference in his own kids.
Well, that's good. Um,
Yeah.
I had a like a week and a half ago. I talked to Fellogun about the U.S. education system, and it's utter trash. But I won't get back into that now. But it's interesting. That's kind of like a lot of what you said is kind of what I would expect. Um,
Yeah.
but also
Yeah, I mean
also interesting
like
stuff.
the negative thing is that it's a lot of there's a lot of like new development in South Africa, so it's everything feels a little bit newer when you go there. So if you look at houses, whereas if you go into the middle of London, there'll be a house that's been there since the 1930s, or there'll be the house that I stayed in was like from the 1960s,
Right.
and everything it feels a little bit more run down because of that, just because everything's a bit older. So, which was a bit of a surprise coming here because you think, oh, first world, new and shiny, and it's not doesn't necessarily work out that way.
Yeah, a lot of America is like that. Like you'll get a lot of older housing. Generally, the worst the lower income areas of town or cities
Mm.
are the older
Mm.
parts, and then you have like new developments that
And just and you if you look at the and if you're riding a subway where it's not going underground, there it's just there's a lot of litter around,
oh
which
yeah.
is surprising. And like and when my mom came to visit me, she's like, I can't believe how much litter is just lying around. You know,
Yep.
the which is yeah, it was a bit weird.
Well, that yeah, I mean, yeah, that's big cities for you, or at least
Mm.
others. I don't know. London is huge. Like, what's the population of
Yeah,
London?
Greater London I think is like 13 million or something like that.
Um, I've been to New York, and it's, but it was like 15 years ago is the last time I was there. But it was also quite dirty, even though New York is renowned for being all the culture it has and all these great things. But it was
Yeah.
like grimy, um, relative to places that I've been at. I think it's just the massive concentration of people. So you'll get more
Mm.
people who are littering.
Well,
And
I just contrasted with other European cities, and I mean Geneva is like spotless.
I've been to
Um,
Geneva. I've been there
yeah,
several times actually, and it is beautiful. But that's Switzerland.
yeah,
Switzerland is in its
yeah,
own thing. Um, well, I'd actually kind of like to move on to the second thing we had. Are you ready for that?
yeah, sure.
Okay, so this is just everyone enjoy this sentence. Let's talk about the flavor of South Africa, her cultures, her struggles, and how people live there. Beautiful, beautiful. Whoever wrote that, kudos to them. Um,
Give him the Pulitzer.
um, let's yeah. So we discussed how we were gonna go about this last night. So I think I'd like to hear about like what is the the whole land thing that they have going on there in South Africa. You know, nature and stuff like rocks and water. What do they have going on?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's probably one of South Africa's strongest points. Is that I mean, obviously, if you one of the biggest draw cards is, in terms of tourism was going on a proper African safari, and I think what they term is like the big five, where you see I can't remember exactly what they all are, but I think it's like elephant, you know, buffalo, leopards, and lions, and
What about the
whatever the fifth
giraffe?
one was.
What about the mighty giraffe? I love giraffes. I
The
love their
most vicious
attitude. I
of
I
all
love I
predators.
love seeing them fight. But do they have those in South Africa?
Yeah, yeah, they do.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, I would
yeah,
like to see one. Just throwing
yeah,
that out
there's,
there. Not that this is related to our conversation. Um,
yeah. So I mean, like, so safari is a big thing, and I think most South Africans just love being outdoors, and you know, going. I mean, I lived by the coast, so there would be miles of beaches that would you could walk, and you might see like 5 or 6 people. You'd walk for a few hours, and every kilometer or so, or mile or so, you might meet 1 or 2 people. And if you go and you come here, you go to Brighton Beach on a nice summer's day, and it'll be
oh
absolutely packed on a
no!
pebble beach.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry. These dogs are giving me troubles. I thought that this halberd would be better. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please go on.
that's
I
all good.
apologize.
Drop and roll.
Yep. I tried that. This is not the weapon. Mace.
No.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Please, please
Yeah.
tell me about the beaches.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the other thing is like just proper waves. I mean, sometimes if you go to certain beaches here, it just feels like you're in a giant bath, and that's especially true in the Mediterranean. But other areas you do get waves, but then the beaches are just so much better,
In
especially where I
South
grew up.
Africa, probably because of
Yeah,
the position on the continent there. It's
yeah.
not sheltered
Well, I
like
mean that. Well,
like
and there's two oceans that meet there as well.
yep, and they hate each other. Um,
Yeah.
uh, So what? Please. So you said like great beaches, wonderful views of
Yeah, I
tumultuous
mean,
waves.
yeah, and
Sorry.
so yeah, and I mean, I think my wife actually grew up in an area which is the name of it is literally called wilderness. So
Oh wow.
not very original, but it kind of gives you an idea of what it was like. And that was
Right.
right by the sea, and there was the backdrop of a mountain. It was really a really nice area.
Um. That's good. That's good that they have that. So well that's now we all have a vivid picture of South Africa.
Yeah,
They have
the,
giraffes
the
there.
the geography.
And the giraffes. Let's not forget the giraffes.
Yeah,
Please let's talk about some of the other things that are in South Africa. So I kind of wanted.
yeah,
So what languages are spoken there? What do people?
yeah.
How are they talking?
So so they say 11 official languages, with the 12th sort of unofficial one being sign language. They try to really cover all their bases, so it's quite diverse. But I think the main ones you would talk about would be, well, sorry, I can't even say that, just because I grew up in the sort of on the south along the south coast, so I didn't really experience some of the other languages such as Venda and Sutu and all those ones. But the ones that I came into contact with were Zulu, Xhosa, and English and Afrikaans. And I'm not even pronouncing them correctly, but
Well, let me try.
those were the main.
Let me try. Afrikaans. Afrikaans.
Afrikaans. Yeah.
Afrikaans. You gotta roll the R,
Yeah.
and then you have to
Yeah.
be. It's like you're there in South Africa as you're saying it, and you're
Yeah.
looking over the beautiful nature.
Afrikaans.
And then you also gesture with one hand. It's like, I'm so proud of this. Yeah,
And
so that's how I
and
do it.
You have to say it in an imperialistic way as well.
Yes. Like while surveying the horizon to look for likely places.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And,
so they have languages there, but the primary ones are which ones?
Well, the sort of the one that's used in Parliament in like official sort of I don't know, in an official capacity is English, which is probably good because it's useful like outside of South Africa, but I think all the other ones are kind of peculiar.
Especially
to South Africa.
Afrikaans.
Well, yeah, I mean it's I think I read somewhere
the newest language.
Yeah, it's the youngest language in the world. It's less than 100 years old or something. Something along those lines.
What a great quality to a language.
Yeah. So the only place that I've ever found that I could speak Afrikaans was in Belgium, and they could sort of understand. We could understand each other. Like I could order a meal in Afrikaans there, and I would get pretty much the right thing.
But they would arch their eyebrows at you.
Well,
Like,
so this
"Are
is
you
Belgium.
okay?"
So this is this is Flemish that they speak. That's fairly close.
Right.
But if you spoke to a Dutch person, which influences Afrikaans, they kind of think you're slow, like you're a child. They kind of they say that Afrikaans sounds like a Dutch child speaking.
Right. That's great. Hopefully they tell that to every like South African person that speaks Afrikaans.
Every chance they get.
Every chance you're like, your language isn't that great, right? So, you need to tell them. So
yeah, and you know how you've got like Florida Man in the US?
no.
No, well,
What is
from
this?
from what I understand, like everywhere there'll be news stories like, and invariably it'll be like some weird thing that happened in Florida.
Yes, a lot of
And,
strange things happen in Florida.
And there'll be news stories about that. And I was speaking to one Dutch guy, and he was saying like we have the same thing, but for South Africa.
Nice.
Like South Africa is our Florida.
Yeah, I do know about the the phenomena of strange things happening in Florida. It's something about the weather. Um, so, well, let's go ahead. We've got maybe 15 minutes. I don't mind going a bit over the hour.
Okay.
That'll be fine with me. But let's go ahead and get into the controversial, well, I don't know, probably controversial part of this thing, which is, so let's talk about racism in South Africa. Oh no.
Well, I think that's probably the fact that it exists in South Africa is probably one of the least controversial things to say, because I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
No, they just accept that. That's not the controversial part.
Yeah.
What is
it's just kind of like what you can do about it is probably the controversial part.
I see.
Because it's, and I mean, I think, and this kind of goes to, because my plan was I had like a 5-year plan, go over to the UK and then come back to South Africa, and it's kind of like when you're in South Africa, you don't actually see what life is. You kind of don't feel like what you have to go through every day. Like my wife will think nothing of going out for a jog on her own at 8 o'clock at night along a river canal completely on her own.
Right.
And if you would never think of doing that in South Africa.
Right.
Not even on the street.
Yeah,
and
it's a different place.
And I mean the problem is that poverty is just kind of driving crime over there, and I think a lot of South Africans kind of make that mistake of tying qualities of race to actions when it's kind of like the poverty that are driving those actions.
That is unfortunate.
And then they don't see that because that kind of stuff happens, elsewhere, and it's not race related. So it's not like, even if you live in the crime happens in the UK, and it's fairly homogenous. So you can't. It's not kind of tied to the race that the crime is happening. If you see what I mean. And it's what's more likely is that it's poverty that's driving the issues that we have in South Africa.
Yeah, there's a similar thing that happens in the U.S. Unfortunately, a lot of times there are a lot of cops who just do that sort of thing. And that was the whole thing and it is still a huge thing that I won't get into. But yeah, that's not unique to South Africa.
But because of the historic injustice of what happened there, people can't get over it. They can't see through that. They just have the prism of race that they look through, and that's what they see.
But there are there are other things that are involved with race. Because we were how about the housing? We were talking about that last night.
Yeah, I mean, when we were talking about the difference in housing, like between basically the affluent and the and by affluent I mean like a lot of white people have much better housing than black people there. And,
right. So it's pretty much based on race. It's not just affluence, but it's almost like affluence is also tied to race, just because of how the history has been.
Well, this is the controversy section, in that apartheid was abolished some 30 years ago.
What's that?
And you cannot apartheid.
What is that?
Apartheid is the sort of all the laws and the regulations around that governed race in South Africa, and the whole separate but equal.
30 years ago, huh?
Yeah, 1990.
Wow.
Yeah.
We kind of here in America we kind of abolished those laws a long time ago. A long time
in the
ago.
60s.
Yes.
Yeah.
But no, just 30 years ago in South Africa.
Yeah.
But
so
I'm sorry.
So the thing is that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk
So
about the housing more. Like, I'd like to get a way to like show people pictures of like what a white neighborhood in South Africa looks like compared to like a predominantly or almost exclusively black neighborhood. Um,
well, I mean, if you search for some pictures of Guguletu in Cape Town, you'll get a
you'll
you'll
get
get
an
a
idea.
good, yeah, and it's a bit difficult to spell
Yeah, I mean, I've just
if you're not used to it.
I was looking at Cape Town when I was talking with someone else about it, and just like they were like in the township, I think you were calling those areas. They're like
Yeah.
people living in shipping containers, like that sort of
Mm.
thing. Like it's ridiculous. And then you look at the houses in the nicer part, and they look like middle class America. And it's just that's insane to me. But what else would you like to talk about as far as the racism? Like how, like where would you like to go with that?
Um, I don't know where to go with it. I mean,
Oh well, I'll
it's
pick a direction. I'm good at this.
yeah.
Uh, so, um, I don't know. Like how about like how people are raised? Because I've talked to a couple South Africans, and like I won't. They had different views. They were younger than I am, but they had much different views as far as race goes. And that will happen here in the
Mm,
US. You'll get like people who are pretty racist, but it's a rarity. Um
yeah.
a lot of
I think
so yeah.
yeah. Sorry. I think that is actually a rarity in South Africa. I mean, like you can't, given the history of South Africa. I mean, like you have to be brought up to have the opinion that you're hard done by as a white guy in South Africa. Like you have to be brought up to think that way. Um,
So,
like it,
but
like
like
I had in the school that I went to when I was growing up, it was predominantly white, and we had um, um, a few black kids that went there, and one of them that I was friends with, like he told me that his first year at school they actually had a course for gardening, and that
what?
was not my experience. It's like that's not, I wasn't. There's clearly a difference in education where, like, there's one section being brought up to be gardeners and the other one's learning maths. It's it was quite
That
astounding to
that sounds like
hear
it
about
was
that.
somewhat ingrained at that point then.
Yeah.
Um
Well,
but
mm.
would you I would guess that like racism though, like quiet racism would be more common in South Africa than it would be like here in the US because that happens here in the US as well. Um
Ye-
but
but I think it's also a dying thing. Like I think it's a generational thing. I mean, you always get those outliers of like young people who think that way, but I think for the most part it's the older generation that thinks like that. And
it,
that's kind of also been they've also been indoctrinated by the governments of the past, you know.
that's kind of it's also really dying out here in the US.
Mm.
But probably it's has been doing so for longer.
Like there would be politicians who, as part of their speech, like their on the campaign trail, I think there was one PW Botha, and he used to talk about die swart gevaar, and that was Afrikaans for black danger.
Ooh,
If we
when was
and
this?
it's I think this was in the 80s,
I see.
1980s,
Hmm.
and I mean that was like right up until apartheid. Like apartheid was. I don't think people felt that it was, but in the 80s, late 80s, apartheid was on its last legs there, and it took like, and then I think there was just a lot of pressure. I don't know how much outside pressure South Africa was feeling, but I think there was a lot of internal pressure to, something has to change, otherwise it's a powder keg.
So it's not great, but things are getting better, sort of thing, as far as that goes. Um,
Um, no, I mean I don't. I can only speak from like my interactions with my family and friends. I think that that is getting better, but I don't think race is going to be an issue. It is going to go away as an issue in South Africa anytime soon. It's
But I
only
mean,
getting.
at least they're not like, taking like black kids and saying, "Hey, here, take a gardening class," anymore, right? Like, I mean,
Well, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot more equal now, for sure. But
it's getting better
well, I
slowly.
mean,
Please let me
yeah, I
have
mean,
my optimism.
I think the problem now is it's just badly run as a country. It's just,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's not going to get better.
Not
And
without drastic changes. The U.S. has a lot of things that are terribly run here as well, and we need change, but the people in power
yeah,
don't want change because that means that they wouldn't be in power anymore.
yeah, but I think the thing is that the level of corruption. I mean, I guess, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like the US, the corruption is a little bit more kind of in your face. Like you can see it happening, whereas in terms of like the lobbying that happens,
There's a lot of
uh,
subtlety to the corruption here. Some
yeah.
of it
Whereas,
is, but yeah, I get what you're saying. There's probably more corruption that's not like, because here, like a lot of corruption, if the media found out about it, they'd be all over it because that'd
yeah,
be a great story and they could make money off of that. Um,
but there's corruption now involving the last president of South Africa, and the media knows all about it, and he's just refusing to show up to go to court. It's like, so what?
it
You've
sounds
subpoenaed me. I don't care.
sounds like Trump, except
Yeah,
he's just like, I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to do it. I don't hear you, la la la. Um,
yeah, yeah. True.
uh, but yeah. Well,
And
I hope
and
that.
like there's been like 30 years of, I guess you would call it free rule, and I think the people that are most in need of help, like their lives have not improved that much since apartheid fell.
Well,
The townships are just as big as they were, if not bigger, back in the 80s.
well, damn. Now I'm depressed. Um,
Like,
no,
well, like
no, no.
the problem is that's the reason, like there's a reason why I'm in the UK, right? I can't. Yeah, I think
Oh yeah, and that was
if you
one.
yeah,
You,
if you interviewed someone who was still living in South Africa, you might get a slightly more optimistic view. Like,
yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, everybody, we were supposed to do a disclaimer at some point.
yeah,
Goodcop has a negative opinion of South Africa, so it's great that we
I
went
think
through why South Africa is bad before we did the disclaimer.
yeah, I would say like of the future. I wouldn't say like I can't say I have a negative opinion of South Africa. I think there's a lot of good there, but I just don't see an immediate future for me to go back as well.
Right, right. That makes sense. Well, it is, it's 10 minutes out from when I'm tentatively going to end it. We could see where the conversation goes. Chat, dear chat, let me get to a safe place, a relatively safe place. Enemies tend not to wander very much in Dark Souls, so this looks good. Chat, please rescue me from my dire things that I've learned, or my depression resulting from the things that I've learned about South Africa. I need something. Chat, give me something good. Give me something fun. Where are you, chat? There's a window that I have open somewhere. Yeah, okay, sorry about that, Magus. I know. That's part of that's my internet. It is my internet. The frame rate is better than that as far as what I'm looking. But that doesn't make me happier. It's saying that the frame
What did
rate.
he ask?
No, he just commented. I don't know when he commented it.
All right.
Anyone? Yeah, Kurt. That is not my link. Anyone can use the Practical Stoic Discord if you would like to tell people about it. Feel free to. So, chat. Please, anyone there. Please give me. I'm gonna type this for anyone who's maybe can't hear. And is watching this, and that would, that there'd be a lot of problems with that because this has been us talking.
So there's, I see one question in Twitch, which is favorite foods that you've had traveling abroad.
I see that one. Kurt has given the last two topics, so Kurt, I appreciate it, and we'll go for it if no one else is out there. But people, please reach out to me.
I will say one uplifting thing about South Africa is that
Nice.
sport kind of does bring the country together,
Ooh.
and so we had, I think, just after we had our first free election in '94, there, I mean, there's a big um, World Cup for rugby, which I'm not sure if you know the game.
I do know the game.
Yeah, so and it's played by mainly England, South Africa, Australia, France, and New Zealand. And there's other countries which I'm sure I'm irritating the shit out of for not mentioning them. But anyway, so we kind of all compete, and in just after we came back from what they call isolation, we ended up winning the World Cup, which was quite amazing, given that we didn't play against any opposition for years. And that kind of and there's actually a movie that they made about it with Matt Damon, and I
It
think it was
sounds
Morgan Freeman.
it sounds uplifting.
Yeah, and it was really good, and that brought South Africans together, especially because Mandela was there when to kind of hand over the World Cup trophy to the captain of South Africa,
Did
and
people hug in the streets?
probably.
They're like,
I mean, I was only
"Yay, we
14.
won! We beat those other bastard countries. Good job,
Yeah.
everybody. The other shitty parts of the world that aren't South Africa." Um, well,
Yeah,
I was
and
really
then we ended up doing that again last year. Well, not last year, 2019,
nice.
and it couldn't have come at a better time. So
Well, I was hoping that that there would be more topics to choose from, but I like your topic, Kurt. So I'm going to go with this. Favorite foods that you've had traveling abroad. Um, so I'm gonna say one, and then maybe you'd like to say one. Good cop.
I think I should go first because
No,
I think I'm pretty basic when it comes to that kind of thing.
no,
I'm not
I
a.
want to go first.
Okay, fine.
No,
Go for it.
you can go first. Go for it.
Okay. Um, yeah. So I'm not a foodie at all. But I will say that there was one meal that I had in Ireland, which I think about a lot, and it was just a lamb shank with mashed potatoes, and
How was it?
it was at a hotel that I was not staying at, but it was so good I went back the next day and had exactly the same thing.
Oh wow, that sounds delicious.
It was
I love animal flesh.
and I think it was down to the mashed potatoes as well. Like, well, they put something in there that was like probably heroin or something because tasted amazing.
I think they call it butter. Um, so
Potato.
yeah, restaurants use a ridiculous amount of butter in their cooking. Like anything
Yeah.
pretty much that you'll get at a restaurant has a lot of butter in
Mm.
it. I will now relate my favorite food abroad, but it's not quite abroad because I'm a Swiss citizen, so I have dual citizenship. But they would definitely consider me a foreigner there. So I will do so for the purposes of this conversation as well. But I'm not admitting to anything. There's a Swiss dish that I really love that I've had in Switzerland. It is called raclette, and it is it's a specific type of cheese. The cheese is also called raclette or raclette. And it's not a cheese that you would eat raw. You only eat it melted. And so what's done is traditionally you take a quarter of the wheel and you put one side of it close to a fire, and then as it melts, you scrape it off onto bread, or a lot of times like boiled red potatoes is a very common way to eat it. That's how I've eaten it in the past. The potatoes really balance out the raclette as far as just the greasiness of it, so it's a nice balance to it. So for modern convenience, you use a type of electric skillet that has something like 8 teeny frying pans, and you put like a slice of raclette in your skillet, the one that you're using, and then you might put up some like sliced onions, maybe a bit of pre-cooked bacon, just kind of crumbled, and then a couple other things, and oftentimes you'll have like little gherkins, the teeny little pickles, with this, or maybe like pickled onions. And it's just a lovely, lovely dish. And it's not something you'd want to eat all the time because it's really not very healthy. But it's so delicious, and it's just such a comfort food. I love it. Are you judging me for this, good cop? Do you think I'm a bad person?
Oh no, when I went to Interlaken, I think the whole thing that you have there is like the cheese fondue.
Oh yes, I also really like fondue.
Yeah, and they made a big deal about it, and we had it as well. It was pretty good.
Nice. Well, chat. Oh wow, I'm bleeding. Actually, I'm gonna head back to the bonfire, and we can just kind of wrap this up. Any parting insults? Good cop? Is there anything you'd like to say to me about how I've conducted myself? That, maybe you could say it and then quickly end the call. That way I can't get a word in. That's how I would do it. It's like, oh, you're an idiot. Click. I would say click because you don't get the click in Discord, but it makes more of a point if you say click.
Well, I mean, like,
please don't do that to me. I would feel so lonely.
I mean, I think you play Dark Souls like old people fuck.
I didn't mean for you to actually insult me. Why did you do this to me? I played Dark Souls really well. I'm good at. I didn't die. I didn't die. I came really close a couple times. The dogs almost got me, but I didn't die. And people generally die in Dark Souls, but not me. I'm gonna quit out. So anyway, thanks everybody. Thanks everybody who was watching. Actually, let me check the viewers real quick before I leave. I want to see. I know it's not going to be many. I'm hoping to get more of a following at some point, but really, I just kind of do this because I like the conversations so far. But anyone who is watching, thank you for watching. Please tell your oh now I'm sad. Hey two viewers, thank you for watching. Please tell your friends and all your pets, and anyway, I'm going to go cry for a bit. But anyway, I'm gonna go offline, and I'm gonna do a debriefing with Goodcop real quick, just in case any of you were wondering. But that's gonna be we're gonna talk about that, and it's not for you to know, but you could imagine it.
Yeah.
All right, goodbye.